So what does it cost, all this care? I want to give you an idea. There's a company called Genworth, which is an insurance company, and every year they do a survey of what it costs. I don't know if you can read that from all the way back there. I certainly can't, so I'm going to have to turn and read my slide. It says homemaker service. This is what I referred to as companion care, homemaker services. This is, by the way, in Virginia. This is the median cost in Central Virginia. This is not Northern Virginia, the Washington suburbs. This is in Central Virginia. They break it down very carefully. This is what it cost in 2013 to have homemaker services in your home. The 1% shows you how much that cost increased year to year. All right? So these are a little bit dated. It's probably a little higher than that. Home health aides, a licensed home health aide, is $41,184 a year. They're showing that as increasing at 0%. Based on what Elizabeth just told me, that this has gone up to $24 an hour, that is definitely not the case anymore. So we know that that is somewhat higher than that figure there. But I think what's important is what you see here is the relationships. This is adult day care. This is what I was talking about earlier. If you take your family member to be cared for over Java for the day while you go do shopping or get a massage or whatever you want to do, that's $15,600 a year, less than half of these other services. If you can do that and then manage the other care with family members and other volunteers, that's a big bargain. This is what an assisted living costs, and I can tell you that this is vastly understated. First of all, it is a private one room, very hard to come by these days in assisted living. They simply don't do it because they can make more money doubling you up with two people sharing a room. But they, in 2013, this says $45,300. My estimation of that figure this year is closer to $70,000 for assisted living. For a semi-private room, by the way. Nursing homes, for a semi-private room, they're showing $75,460. A private room in nursing care, very, very rare. Very rare. And it would be beyond, you would not be able to get it for that price. But I think from a relational standpoint, these are probably helpful to see what you would be saving if you can figure out a way to stay at home. By the way, I should say I see a lot of you furiously scribbling this stuff down. I do have printed copies of these. I'm so sorry. But you'll remember it better that way. I am. In fact, it's coming right now. That was a perfect segue. How are we going to pay? Even if you stay in your home, there's going to be a lot of things you're going to have to end up paying for. So how are you going to do that? If you have the private resources to pay that kind of care and the maintenance person and all the other expenses that come up, lucky you, right? If you're independently wealthy, you may be in that category. I don't have any clients that are in that category, so if you are, would you raise your hand now, because I want to make sure you get a business card. Long-term care insurance is another way that you could pay for this. A lot of people bought long-term care presuming that they were going to need assisted living or nursing home care and that they were going to pay for it with long-term care. Long-term care insurance can be used for home care. Public assistance or government benefits is another way to pay for long-term care. The best way to figure this out is very, very, very careful planning as to how you're going to make your money last. So let me take a little bit closer. Again, if you have the private resources to pay thousands of dollars every month for the assistance that you're going to need, you are in the top 1% of the population. Excuse me. And there's nothing more I need to say. You're going to be able to pay for this. If you have long-term care insurance, and if you are, you're again very lucky. I hope that you do. And one of the things, there are a couple of things that you need to check for in your long-term care policy. It will cover home care in most cases. Check to make sure there is not an exclusion for that. Look at the daily benefit amount. Most long-term care insurance policies have a figure, and it hopefully will have gone up every year with inflation, that they will pay as a benefit when you finally make a claim on your long-term care. Typically, that figure is about $130 a day. So if you have care coming in or you have needs that are higher than $130 a day, which if $24 a day for $24 an hour for companion care is going to add up pretty quickly, in addition to whatever other needs you might have. So look at that. The other thing that you want to look at is there is very often a cap on the total dollar amount that they will pay over the life of your claim, right? So it could be capped at $1 million or $2 million or whatever, and that goes very quickly. You would be surprised how quickly people reach that. Far more common is this situation, whereas there is a time restriction. They are betting that you are going to die before you reach the full amount of the claim, right? And some people don't, so they put a cap on it, and often it's 3 years. So if you believe you may live 3 years beyond when you first make your claim, and I do have a client who that happened to. They made a claim, they are now well beyond their 3 years, and they are having to pay out of pocket for all of their care. So look at that on your long-term care insurance policy. It's in the fine print. If you can't read it, bring it to me. I got nice strong specs. I'll look at it. When you talk about public assistance and government benefits, Medicaid, which is public assistance, it's for people who have very, very limited resources and income, is available in your home. A lot of people don't know this. You don't have to go to a nursing home to get Medicaid assistance. It's difficult, it's tricky. When I say it's difficult, one, you have to be very poor and without resources to get it. You may be house rich. You may have a house that you're comfortable living in and all kinds of other things that would make this plan work if you could get a little bit more assistance. This is worth looking into. You will probably need a very skilled or experienced social worker or aid worker, perhaps an attorney, that's familiar with these things, that will help you get through the application process and determine your eligibility for these things. Very, very complicated. The rules change all the time. I have to re-educate myself every time I do this. Veterans benefits are for those that qualify for a number of different reasons, the period that you served, how you were discharged. There are cash benefits available to people who are without resources. You, again, like Medicaid, have to be very, very hard up in order to qualify for cash benefits. But there are also health care benefits where you can offset some of your other health care expenses by getting, for example, all of your pharmacy needs met through I think the highest copay you will ever pay for pharmacy at the Veterans Administration is $8. $8 for some very expensive drugs. So that's a great benefit. Get rid of your Part D benefit and the premium that you pay for that and the high copays you're paying on some of those things. That's something, again, you should get someone that knows what they're talking about to help you with this. As I said, these things are very, very complicated. They also interfere with one another. So when you talk to someone, make sure they understand, if you're eligible for Veterans Administration benefits, make sure they know both Medicaid and Veteran Affairs, because one might disqualify you for the other if you do things to make yourself eligible. Again, it's really essential that you plan very, very, very carefully. Things will change as time goes on, so even the best laid plans of mice and men, as they say, are sure to run, what is it, amok, awry, something like that, I don't remember. Your goal is to maximize your existing assets and figure out how your income is going to fit into that so you don't have to weed your assets down. Minimizing expenses. What we don't want to do, if we can do it, is to minimize your expenses and reduce your quality of life to such an extent that it's not something that's viable for you. The way to make these plans work, and I have made them work for a couple of people, is to bring in assistance and care only when it's needed and only what's required. So if you are in your home and you need assistance in your home, do not bring in a CNA to do companion care work. Okay? And only for the amount of time that you need. I know that people are sometimes very nervous about being alone. So if you need someone overnight, you may want to pay someone to be with you during the day, companion care or nursing care or whatever is needed, but you may be able to have a family member or a group of family members who take turns sleeping at your house overnight if there's no real care needs that are essential that they can't do. Again, utilize your friends and family. And last but not least, on the care side of things, do not forget hospice. And this is a subject a lot of people don't like to talk about. I love to talk about it. I'm a big fan of hospice. I'm a bit biased because I know a lot of people that work in hospice, you can have hospice care in your home. Okay? They will come to your home, and you can also have it in a nursing home. You can also have it in assisted living. You can get in all of those places, in any of the places you would live, you can get hospice care. Hospice care is 100% paid by Medicare or Medicaid. In case you didn't hear me, hospice care is 100% paid by Medicare or Medicaid. You will not pay for the care. Hospice care does not include room and board, no matter where you are. So if you're in assisted living, you will continue to pay for your room and board. If you're in a nursing home, you will continue to pay for room and board. If you are in hospice house downtown, you will pay for room and board. You will not pay for hospice care. Room and board at hospice house, last time I checked, was $170 a day. Not cheap. So if you own your home and hospice care is delivered at your home, what's your cost? Right? So if you own your home and it's paid for, you're not renting, you can get hospice care for nothing. Right? It's a huge, huge benefit because you can layer it on top of whatever other care you're getting. So if you need more than what you can get from hospice, you get home health to pay to deliver service, and then layer on hospice care when it's appropriate. They do not, hospice care, none of the hospices provide 24/7 round-the-clock coverage. Simply doesn't happen. They get paid a daily rate by Medicare. I forget what the rate is, but they get paid a daily rate, and they come on a regular basis. They have CNAs that come out and do certain things. They have nurse case managers that do certain things, but they will not be at your house 24/7. You can get hospice once you have been diagnosed with a terminal disease or condition. It's important, distinction. Condition could just mean that you're old and failing and that you're expected to die within 6 months. That is not, however, a death sentence. That does not mean that you have to drop dead within 6 months. And many people believe that. They hear the word hospice, they mean, oh, that means I'm dying. And unfortunately, it also means that many people do not get hospice care until days before they die. Even a day. I've had seen people admitted 24 hours before they die. They get hospice care for that 24-hour period when they could have been way more comfortable for 6 months before that. So if you don't die in 6 months, they simply have the doctor recertify you for another 6 months, and you go on your happy way. I'm sure a lot of you will remember Art Buchwald, who was a comic columnist. He was a writer, humorist, very, very interesting guy. He had, I believe it was kidney disease he was diagnosed with many years ago, and he went on hospice. He lived for several more years. I think it was 3. I'm pretty sure it was 3. He actually got better, as many people do, get better on hospice because you're getting more intense, personalized care. They're stripping away a lot of the medications that you otherwise would be taking. Get better and are discharged from hospice. Right? You don't die, you get better, they discharge you. Right? You go back to doing whatever you were doing. What do they provide? They provide nurse practitioners and RNs. Those people are usually managing your case. They come out on a regular basis and visit with you, do assessments, and they schedule everybody else or call in other resources as they're needed. There are LPNs and CNAs that do a lot of the day-to-day care, wound dressing, bathing, all that sort of personal care. There's a medical director. Every hospice has a medical director. That's an MD, a doctor, who is either at the other end of a telephone. Some of them make visits, certainly into care facilities like nursing homes and assisted livings. They will visit with you there. Many of them go into the home. There are social workers who are usually licensed social workers in the sense that they can do both counseling and help you with resources. I have seen social workers who made arrangements when somebody's hot water heater went out to replace the hot water heater, and they did it at the expense of the hospice agency. These people are amazing. I have nothing but good words to say for all of them. They all have spiritual care, ordained ministers that will go out and work with families, will work with the person who is getting ready to pass, at the level that you want to work with them. If it's merely a social friendly visit, they'll do that. If you need some prayer or more intense religious activity, they'll do that. Most hospice agencies also have a fleet of volunteers. They also have a bereavement service, so after the fact there are people to work with your family to help them work out their feelings about the loss.